Okay, so once again, coaches, I would like to welcome you to this Ignite Credential Accelerator Session. And we did a very quick introduction from all of you. Wonderful to see everyone joining from around the world. That's what really makes my heart elate right now, seeing that you're joining from around the world. And I would also like to congratulate all the coaches who are on this journey working towards your ICF credential. The reason you are here is to demonstrate your commitment to lifelong learning. And that's what we do as professional coaches. We see that there's so much potential, innate potential that we can develop so that we can bring about that catalyzing opportunity for our clients, right? So let's get started. Now, when we say Ignite Credential Accelerator, what do we mean by that? Many of you are on your credential journey and you understand that there are several requirements for the credential application. So with the Credential Accelerator, what we do is provide you all the necessities as well as the full support to work towards your credential. So we have opened this session for all of you today to come and experience what it looks like. And especially today, I would like to show you some differences that had been created when the ICF competency framework and minimum skill requirements were changed recently, as you know. Right, so we will dive into that conversation. I think before that, it's good for us to get to know each other a little bit more. So before we go into this conversation today, I invite you to bring your hands out if you would like to join me, and then let's slowly change our physiology a little bit so that we can also change our mental energy, right? So if you are in a space to open your arms and big circles if you can, let's warm up a little bit. Right, great. And as you do that, I invite you to bring your hands. Think about an ape, right? Think about the ape, how they create adrenaline rush, right? So we're going to shake our hands really fast. You can also scream in your mind, or you can mute yourself and scream if you like. So we go 1, 2, 3, let's try. Good job. Well done, well done, well done. If you have a meeting, if you have something to present, I invite you to do, I call this monkey business. When I had to do like a keynote speech, I first go to the toilet, close the door and do this silently. And then I feel fully prepared in full energy when I step onto the stage. So I invite you to try that out. Let us know if that works, right? So coaches, I would like to share this very little story before we begin this conversation today. So about 1.5 years ago, when I was approaching the 2,500 coaching hours, I was thinking of applying for my MCC. Naturally, it's a journey that you're thinking of becoming a master of something, right? So when you become a master, it's natural you ask yourself, what is it to be a master of coaching, right? So I asked this question myself, and then I started finding answers to this. And then I looked at the coaching competency, like how should I prepare this coaching recording for ICF? And when I looked at that, I realized the MCC level, we are still talking about minimum skill requirements, right? So when ICF approves your credential, what do they approve you at? The minimum skill requirements. And I thought to myself, what's the point of becoming a master with minimum skill requirements? Obviously, right? So I started a journey of trying to learn what is true mastery of coaching. And everywhere I looked, it was an elaboration of the minimum skill requirements, and I wasn't satisfied with that. So I began a journey of trying to understand what it is to be a good master of something. And if you may wonder what I found out, the ultimate answer I found out was that becoming a master truly means you are able to comfortably make more mistakes. That was what the mastery was for me, truly speaking. Right, so now coming back, why are we talking about this right now? So I invite you to a space, if you're going to become an ACC or PCC, MCC, it doesn't matter. Beyond the credential, beyond that recognition from ICF, what does that mean to you? Why would you like to become an ACC? Why would you like to become PCC? So I would like to invite you to answer that question first, right? So while you're thinking about that, right, wherever you are in your journey, the next journey that you're beginning, ACC, PCC, or something else, right? Now I'm going to create small breakout rooms, including 3 of you in each. And I invite you to talk about that next milestone, not about requirements, not about how you are prepared for that. Instead, let's talk about why is it important to us, especially as an individual, looking at ourselves from a higher perspective. Why is Fernando interested in becoming an ACC or PCC? So let's answer that question. Let's take a quick break. So those who are joining us online, watching this video, I invite you to reflect, take a minute and reflect. Why are you on this journey to your next step, whatever it would be? Okay, coaches, welcome back. I hope you had an inspiring conversation, and it would be extremely valuable if you can keep your microphones muted while we are having the session. But if you would like to speak, please feel free to unmute yourself and talk to us. So I hope you had an inspiring conversation. Now, I would like to hear from few of you. What meaning did you create during this short conversation with your colleagues? May I invite Maggie to share with us, if you don't mind?
What did you ask? What did we do? What
meaning did you find out in terms of your next level? Yeah.
For me or for Ilse? I was with Ilse. For me, I was clear that I'm getting the ACC accreditation to check the box, because I'm very clear I want to be a nutrition coach. And when you're a nutrition coach, you are going to offer advice. Whether you like it or not, you have to offer advice, because if you're making meal plans for people, you're making meal plans for people based on where they are and where they want to move to. So for me, it's because I have come this far, so I need to finish and then focus on the technical part of my coaching.
Excellent, excellent,
Thank
Maggie.
you.
Yeah, and I think when we talk about offering advice as a coach, it is true that sometimes we do offer advice, and I think we learn from Maggie. Being a coach, there are some components of our services where we can use the coaching approach, and then there are some components of our services where we have to provide advices and consultation. And that is something that we widely accept and actually celebrate. So Maggie, wonderful to hear you're creating value for your nutrition clients. Wonderful. Now that you mentioned the name Ilse, shall we ask Ilse as well? What meaning did you see in your conversation?
It was beautiful to share and see the different reasons, but basically both of us went for the credibility as the main why. Different for Maggie. For me, it was more about willing to enter the corporate coaching world, which then that's where the certification is requirement and confirming your credibility. But for me, it's also a lot about own learning and growth. And as you said, and I also loved that it's also the inner perfectionist, because of course, if I want to be a coach, why should I just go for whatever I'm going to go for? Ta-da!
Yeah. Thank you, Ilse. Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Ilse and Maggie. I think what is really inspiring to me with both of you sharing is that there's realness. There's authenticity to what you are doing. That is so important. If you may remember, when we began this journey, we had other thoughts. We're like, we want to help people. We want to make impact. That was where we were coming from. And as we got into this career, we found out that impact needs to be made inherently within our clients. We are here to offer a professional service. And as we go through the ICF credentialing process, we gain credibility. Absolutely. That's beautiful authenticity. Thank you for sharing. Okay, coaches. So I promised you, I will show you a bit of difference between our former ICF competencies and the new competencies. So what I'm going to do is show you 4 competencies in comparison from ACC to new, PCC to new as well. So you get a little bit of an understanding how are these competencies changing a bit, right? Especially in the levels. Before I show you these competencies and dive in, I would like to mention to you, actually, competencies have not changed much, honestly speaking. Of course, there's more depth to it, but at the same time, what I'm seeing is ICF has strengthened the assessment criteria more meaningfully for all 3 levels, which I'm very happy about, because when we do that, we create we bring up our standards as coaches, as an industry as well. So let's dive into this very, very brief 4 slides presentation. So what are we really doing here? Close look at new markers for ICF credentialing, right? So for that, we need to be able to see the former markers. So let's look at one of the ACC former markers. So this is the ICF competencies levels table, which belongs to the previous ICF markers. These are the minimum skill requirements and the competence requirements. So as you can see under competency, managing progress and accountability, ACC, what was expected to be demonstrated in your recording was the coach tends to suggest forms of accountability that may feel a bit parental in nature. Accountability tends to be one-dimensional. So this was what ICF was accepting in terms of accountability earlier, right? Now, ICF changes their approach to how they look at this competency. What is it? So now we have this here, which says acknowledges and supports clients' autonomy in the design of goals, actions, and methods of accountability. So as you can see, ICF really invite us to remember that coaching is a counterintuitive process. In other words, although client may come into the coaching session thinking like no clarity, no answers, no solutions, they will go deep within themselves, find those answers, right? Where our coach does not need to be parental anymore. So in your ACC recording earlier, if you tend to provide a bit of advice, lead the client, suggest accountability, things like that, now we realize with the new ACC markers, we are unable to do that because now we need to remember client as a whole person of themselves, and we provide the positive regards. We believe client can create it by themselves. Usually this level was expected at PCC level, but now you can see they have elevated ACC competency markers so that you have to create that innate development in the client without providing any advice in this regard related to this competency, right? If you have questions, feel free to send them in chat room. Now, here's another one, the former PCC marker. Let's look at it carefully. Competency is creating awareness. Now, the first PCC marker we see, the coach helps the client to create new awareness by engaging in problem solving. Now this is one of the biggest problems most coaches have. Taking the approach of problem solving to the client. What does that mean? Not necessarily providing a solution. Once the client identifies the goal, the coach buys in to achieve that goal. So earlier in PCC level, we were a little bit okay with coaches kind of problem solving with the client, engaging in a problem solving manner, right? But what does ICF say now for PCC level? Very different story. Coach partners with the client by supporting the client to choose what happens in the session, which means now ICF decided to bring this competency to how they assess this competency at MCC level earlier. This means now we cannot take problem solving approach when we work with our clients. Now you might be wondering, what do you mean by that, Fernando? Problem solving approach. Here's an example. The client says, I need to decide on a specific choice and I have 3 choices. I have 3 choices, right? And then what would be your next question? The client has said, yes, I want to make a choice. That's what client came, and I have 3 options, right? The client now says, I have identified A, B, C very clearly now in terms of my options. What would be your next statement or question? Anyone would like to come forward and share or share in chat room? What would you ask next? Okay, let's do Salman.
What makes you take a choice?
Oh, which one would you focus on first, right?
No,
Okay,
no,
so
what makes you take a choice? Any choice.
Oh, what makes you make any choice? Oh, that's a very interesting call. And then Gochi says, what next? Now, both of these are really wonderful questions. Now, if we might be a little bit new to the coaching profession, We might ask questions like, okay, let's forget about ABC. Let's think two. It makes things easier. The client says, I have two options. At the end, we need to decide on one. Let's say two options. They came up with two options. I identified A and B. If a coach asks, okay, let's do a pros and con analysis. What are the advantages and disadvantages with A and with B? Possibility, right? Or a coach might ask, what is most important for you to discuss now? Right? Something like that. Or what is least important from this? Right? So we could pros and cons, what is most important, least important, questions like this. Now, when we do that, they are open-ended questions. They're valuable to the client, but there's a tendency or the connotation of using a method that is familiar to the client in approaching this. What do we mean by that? If you as a person, when you have two options, you choose pros and con approach and to see both of them, or which one should be prioritized. These are innate ways that we do problem solve, right? But we do not need to imply that. We do not need to use a familiar method for us to problem solve with the client, right? So I really like these two questions. So you're asking, what's next, right? So this is very open, right? You're not problem solving here. You're telling, okay, now you began the conversation with this, and now you have identified A and B as options. What would you like to do next, right? Right? When you say, what would you like to do next? Client might say, nothing. I don't want to do anything. But if you ask pros and cons, that means we decided it would be valuable for the client to do pros and cons, right? So we do not operate from a mental model that is familiar to us. In other words, when client is going through their process, we need to become curious to learn how would the client like to approach it. What would the client like to do next with this? Now, coaches, here is a little magic wand for you, little tip that I would like to share with you. Have you ever come to a place with a client, you don't know what to ask, right? You have been talking to the client, the conversation is great. All of a sudden, you are stuck at a place, you are unsure what to ask, right? And in a place like this, most coaches panic, right? And it just throw us off the grid. Our emotions get involved, and it's a very uncomfortable place to be. Use this technique, the technique that you're talking about right now. When you're stuck, tell the client, hey, this is where we started the coaching conversation. And during our last exploration, you came up with this, ABC, whatever it is. And then you say, ask, so how would you like to continue this conversation now? Ooh, ICF hear that and go like, wow, this coach is very good. This coach knows how to allow the client to lead through this process, right? So you see, sometimes the competency could be pretty simple, but when we dig deeper, it brings a lot of awareness to us about ourselves and our clients as well, right? So I will quickly show you what we were discussing about. We were talking about the coach helps the client to create new awareness by engaging in problem solving. So to solve a problem, we need to have a solution. That solution, if it is familiar to us, we are leading the client. We are using a problem solving approach to the client. But instead, if we could directly ask the client, this is what you shared with me, A and B. What would you like to do next? Right? What would you do about it? Now what? So what? What's next? Questions like that truly allow you to enable the client to move forward on their own directions. So here are two competencies that markers would like to present to you today to bring to our awareness that competencies have changed. In fact, ICF has elevated the assessment criteria. Not much of a change, but the competencies, now we need to focus more and also learn it at depth at a higher level, not just operating from minimum skill requirements. So may I suggest, in your journey to credentials, instead of depending on minimum skill requirements, go beyond, inquire, what is it to be at mastery level, for an example? What is it to pass ACC at mastery, PCC or MCC? That would help you to create some better awareness so that you don't even have to really worry about the minimum skill requirements because you're operating at a higher level. All right, so coaches, if you have any questions, feel free to let us know. Now it's a very special time. So we are about to witness a coaching session between two of you. So I invite one of you to come forward as the coach, and one of you to come forward as the coachee and witness a real life coaching session. And the coachee who's joining us, please do not role play. You know that role play cannot really show us the essence of real coaching. Please choose a goal that you can work on, small goal, within about 40 to 45 minutes maximum. Let's say 35 to 45 minutes. Who would like to come forward as the coach and the coachee? It's a great opportunity for you to receive some feedback. And I promise we will provide this feedback within an emotional container. What we mean by that is for you to leave this conversation with no any hurt feelings or any unresolved emotions. This is a safe space. Okay, we have Maggie here. Maggie, coach or the coachee?
I'll be a coachee.
Wonderful. So Maggie has a topic for us. We are looking for a coach now. Okay. Okay, excellent. So we have Coach Usa as our coach, and then we have Maggie as our coachee. Coaches, feel free to turn off your camera and microphones so that Maggie and Usa can comfortably collaborate here. Coach Usa, please mark time, 35 to 45 minutes, and see you later. Have fun.
Hi, Coach Maggie. How are you today?
I'm very well, Usa. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too. What's on your mind today to discuss in our today's session?
Okay, so Usa, I first thank you for stepping in to coach me. I was quite surprised there were no coaches. Normally, it's usually the other way around, that there is a coach, but there's no coachee. But today we had a coachee, but it took a long time to get a coach, and therefore I really appreciate. And also just to ask that if you feel like I'm talking too fast, please slow me down because I tend to speak a little bit fast and I would not want you to miss key points. So I'm at a point in my life where I would say it's like my halftime, where I've been living my life, I've been making progress. And in many aspects in my life, I can say things have been going well, but then I get to the half point. Say, for example, it's a soccer match. When you get to the halftime, you need to sit back, reflect, and see what you need to make, where you need to make changes so that you can move forward to the end of the game. So now I'm at my halftime, and it coincided also with a 10-day retreat that I did, where it was a silent meditation retreat, and I came out and I asked myself, okay, what was that? It was very heavy. And the one question that kept coming up in my head as I was leaving the center was, okay, so you've gone through all this, you've learned how to meditate, or maybe not, but I would say I've learned how to meditate. And I have reflected also on quite a number of paths in my life. But I cannot tell you for a fact, Usa, or I cannot even tell myself for a fact, what makes me 100% feel alive. You know, as I'm living, yes, I'm healthy, I have a family, everybody's happy. I would say I am happy in my life, but is that it? Does that make me feel alive? So I asked myself that question and I wrote it down. And as I asked myself, what really makes me feel alive? I honestly don't know. And I don't want to live my life trudging along, and before I know it, I'll be 95 or maybe 100 and not having actually felt alive at all. So that's where I am.
Interesting, Maggie. So when you said that you are in the halftime, you would like to sit back, relax yourself like that, and then you're wondering what exactly made you feel be alive. So can you explain a little bit more why you are consider yourself as you are in the halftime? What does that mean?
That's all to do with it's age. Just I mean, for some people, they will think their halftime is 25. I am 51 now. So I feel I can't just continue trudging along. There are things that I know for sure didn't work, and I have dropped them for a few years. I've dropped them and picked other important things. But is that it? Is that, will I feel alive? And I think also what would help me is to know, what does it mean to actually even feel alive? Not just my heart beating. I'm glad it is beating and I'm healthy, but what then makes me feel alive? What does that mean? It was just a question that hit me, and it stayed with me that whole 10 days. What makes me feel alive? And I could not pinpoint it.
Yeah. So when you said what exactly make you feel alive? What would you like to take away from our today's session regarding what could make you feel alive?
I would say perhaps markers, maybe have a few markers along the line, along the way. And when I say markers, it doesn't have to be markers that are permanent. They can change, because life, I'm a very dynamic person. I could be focusing on something now, and I will either be focusing on it in the future, or improving on it, or having realized it doesn't serve me. So, and it will be fine. But I just need to have those markers that help me along the way to know that I'm on the right path. And again, even right path, there is no like right or wrong path. Yeah, I mean, right or wrong, but I need to feel it. Yeah, I need to feel that this is going well. It's working for me emotionally and mentally, and that yes, it's good to do it. But I just to have those markers along the way. Does that make sense? What I'm saying? Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, that's it. I would say to have markers along the, just to know what are my markers, and how do I even and how often do I even look at those markers to know if I'm living, without just having my heartbeat, that I am living.
So the markers that you mentioned, it's like, what is the purpose of your life, or what is the motivation for you to be you today? What exactly do you mean by a markers that you would like to take away from today's session?
I would say it could be questions that I can ask myself. My markers could be questions that I ask myself along the way. Like, okay, so you've been, and at the halftime was very good, because at that I used a guide, and maybe I could still use the same guide. I used a guide to help me look at how my life has been in the past, and how I need to start looking at it going forward. Yeah, that's it. Maybe it's to have questions. It's to probably have questions that I can ask myself along the way. That could be the marker. But what are the questions? How do somebody arrive at the questions to even ask? Maturity is hard. Maturity is hard work.
Okay, what I'm hearing is that you would like to have some questions to yourself. Okay, how would you like to see yourself at the end of the session?
Sorry, how would I like to see?
What would you like to see yourself at the end of the session regarding to the questions that you would like to have?
You know, life is not really cast in stone. That's for sure. And I could be having the conversation with you today, and I will. And I can't tell you that in 45 minutes we will have figured it out. We will have figured out how my next 50 years, God willing, is going to look like. But at least to have a guide, like a guide that I can use to make those, to come up with those questions, or even to have those internal conversations with myself. So that would really help, just to have that. I would say a very broad guideline that I can use to come back to.
Yeah. So when you mentioned in the beginning of the session that actually you are happy, but you are not feeling 100% happy, and that make you feel like, what make you feel being alive? So how this topic come from?
The being alive or being happy? Happy, I don't know. Happy, I think happy is usually an in and out situation, because happiness tends to come from outside, from external things rather than from inside. So I am joyful. I am a joyful person because of the way I think I live my life. But there'll be things in life that will be thrown your way either by God, by the world, that will affect your happiness. And I'm okay with that. So it's very hard to say, anybody to say that 100% happy, I am not sure that is 100% possible, because 1 minute you're happy, the next minute, God knows what's going to be thrown your way. So in terms of happiness, I'm in a good place. I think it's the joy part that if we got to, not joyful really, maybe if I found, even for me, it's just so complicated in this head of mine. Even after the 10 days of not speaking, I still came out probably still asking more questions. That what I think this is where we usually ask, when you die, what will your epitaph look like? What would you like to be written on your grave? What would I like to be written on my grave, whether I have a grave or not? What will I want to be remembered for? And I think it comes down maybe to joy, I don't know, but maybe that's it. What would I like to be remembered for? Whether I'm remembered or not.
Yeah, that seems to be one of the questions that you are going to ask yourself.
What would I like to be remembered for? Yeah, so that's the one question that I can navigate. So what would I like to be remembered for? Whether I'm remembered or not, again, I'm putting that out there because it doesn't matter, but at least I know I made an effort towards doing good, not just for me. And it's something that actually Fernando mentioned a few, maybe the last session or the session before that. That's when we say we want to be coached so that we can help other people, it's almost 100%. It's for ourselves. I mean. it really is for ourselves. But I think it just makes us feel good to say, oh, I went into coaching to help other people. So, but so if it's really to help other people, to be on the ICF coach finder. If it's not really for me, I think at the end of the day, if I'm honest to myself, it is a very self-centered for me. It's a very self-centered drive. That will not make me feel alive. That I can tell you for sure. The fact that I'll be, now I have my ICF accreditation, it will not make me feel alive. It will make me feel good, but not necessarily alive, because it's not necessarily what I'll be remembered for. So I think it does go back to this question: what would I like to be remembered for, irrespective of how many people will remember me, whether it's one person, whether it's 100 people, whether it's 1 million people. How will I make that little mark in other people's lives so that I'm not just living for me? It's not, and I don't want to be like the best nutrition coach in the world. If I do, well and good. If not, it's fine. But somebody spoke to me and I made a difference for them. That's good for me. But again, it will also still go back to I think I will always have to go back to this question. Along the way, I will have to come back to this question. What do I like? What would I like to be remembered for? And it's probably a question I could ask myself every day. Today, when I get out, when I step out, today, when I step out of this house, what would I like to be remembered for? Even within the home, I think.
Yeah.
I think.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
So, and may I ask another question, Coach Maggie? What is the big goal in your life?
What's the what?
Your big goal in life. Do you have any goal?
Oh, my big goal in life. I have many goals. One, in terms, I have, because my goals are, it's financial, it's family, it's health, but the most important, I've always said since I was very little, that I just want to live a long, happy and healthy life. And I know if I am healthy, I will be happy. Another point when I was saying happiness, I had never thought about happiness being an external, something that comes from outside. For me, happiness as a child came from inside and outside and everything. But now as an adult, I know that happiness and joy are two different things. Now, as an adult, when I look at it, what is my main goal? I want to live a long, healthy, and joyful life.
Good. So do you have any doubts in this area about yourself?
Do I? I do. I do, because it's a pity that I have to say this, but my family, we don't seem to live very long. And therefore long, even if I'm saying I wish I could get to 100, I know it may not be the case. Yeah, and if it is, it would be really good. If it's not, and I go down earlier than like many in my family have done, that's really sad, but I will be gone. Too late to know whether I'll be sad or not, because I'll be gone. But I'm not afraid of death. I just hope that by the time I'm dying, at whatever point, I'll have made an effort for myself to be joyful and to be healthy. That was a good question. That was a good one. Yeah. What am I afraid of? Yeah. Because that fear is probably also what makes me ask myself what makes me feel alive. Because I don't know when my day will come, and it comes knocking pretty fast. Yeah. I'm not afraid of death, but I don't want to die feeling empty.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what is the purpose of your life?
If I only know, I don't know. I don't know. Yeah, I wish it would come with our birth certificates. Maggie, born on this day, and your purpose in life is to do this, because then it will be clear that we start working on it with the job description. Sadly, it doesn't. And why do I say I don't know? If you had asked me this question 10 years ago, I probably would have said something very different. 20 years ago, something very different. I think purpose can change all the time. And so I say, yes, I want to live a long and healthy and joyful life, but I can't do that on my own. I want to impact anybody, even amongst the people I live with or anybody I interact with, that we all live a long, happy, healthy, joyful life together, all of us. Big happy family. But in terms of my life purpose, I have no idea. Sounds sad, but no, I have no idea.
So do you have any question in this area about yourself?
Because I've done all those, those online questionnaires. It's always, for me, it always comes back to the same thing: social justice, helping other people. But am I helping other people? So when I'm helping, because I do serve, and I serve people a lot. But now I want to probably also be going back to this question that I asked at the very beginning. So I've come and I've served you, Usa. I have helped you in one way or the other. What would I like to be remembered for? In that I have to go back and pretend. I have to go back and stop pretending not to be selfish, and ask myself, what would I like to be remembered for? I don't want to have done it just to make me happy. I want to have done it to have made an impact for you, to serve others so that it has an impact, not to serve me. That should not be my drive. But I don't want to serve in an area, or like when because the first time I did this whole assessment on my purpose, it was with my church. And of course, I've always known social justice is my area, because I always felt driven to help other people who are really, really in need. And when I say in need, in fact, if I was given a prison program, I'll be very happy, because I think people in prison, they're those who are probably just need to stay there and never get out. But there are those, it was a bad decision that they made at a time in their life that, with the wisdom that with retrospective wisdom, would have made a better decision. But then when they get out, I would not want to feel like, if I was serving in a prison program, that somebody came out and I never helped them to find better footing in their life. So it's all convoluted. Even in my head, I cannot make it clear, even in my own head. But yes, I was clear even from the church program that it is social justice, but I'm also very clear which areas of social justice I will not do. So like, I cannot do hospital programs. I will be broken from the minute I go in there myself. So it's now, with that knowledge, then what should I be doing with it? Rather than just serve, giving people, feeding the poor. It's not enough for me. I just feel it's not enough. I don't feel like I do enough to get to that, to actualize my own purpose. Yeah.
And Maggie, where are we right now regarding to the topics that we discussed in the beginning?
It's going well, Usa. It's going well, and you're triggering very many other questions that initially I just had one question, and now I've come up with already what am I afraid of, and what is my purpose. So these are very important questions to help me get there. And as I said earlier, it's not a conversation that we can get to the conclusion in 45 minutes. If we are talking about another 49 years, we cannot cover that in 45 minutes. We probably need another 45 years of conversations. But yes, what is my purpose is a good one that I will need to go back to. Yeah. Yeah. So we're going well. Thanks very much.
Great. So what is the most important thing that make you feel 100% or over 100% feeling being alive that you would like to become?
Is 100% or even more high achievable, really? Is it? Let's say as close to 100 as possible. Whether the close would be 20% or 80%, at least it will be further from the zero. It will be not 0%, right?
Yeah.
I would want it to not just be about me. I don't think I'm not a selfish person. I am a selfish person, but not a selfish person. And let me explain. Where I'm very clear on my boundaries and I'm very clear on my values. So when somebody tells me to do something that is outside of that, I say, no, with all due respect, I will not do it. And at that point, it doesn't matter, unless really it's a matter of life and death for you, as long as it doesn't go against my values, I will do it. But I had been a major people pleaser. People pleasing was like a weakness. I would constantly, oh, it's an inconvenience, but I will do it for you. Yeah. And then I went through a switch. The last 10 years have been amazing. I went through a switch. I'm like, I'm sorry. It's an inconvenience. I will not do it. So it's, yes, to be selfish, but not selfish, if that makes sense. It makes sense for me. Yes, it's to be selfish and not selfish. That will make me feel alive. And not to be too strict, because it can be also very strict that people don't even know how to approach me. So I want to keep that space open, that I remain approachable, but still be confident to say no without necessarily having to defend my no. I usually tell people no is a complete answer. And even yes is a complete answer. So if I say yes, I'll be there, I'll be there. If I say no, I won't be there, you don't have to ask me why, or ask me to change my mind. And I try not to do that to people either. So it's learning to be selfish and not selfish.
Interesting.
Yeah.
And Maggie, until now, what have you learned something new about yourself?
I'm very complicated in my head. I complicate my own life. Life is so easy, but I know how to complicate it every now and then, because I find it when it becomes too easy, I'm like, oh, that's it. I need to add a bit of spice to life. So I don't know. What am I learning about myself is I can uncomplicate my life if I just probably slow down a little bit and every now and then ask these questions. So now I even have 4 questions. So the 4th one is, am I being selfish without being selfish? Is a question I'll also need to ask myself as I'm answering or as I'm trudging through life. And it might be an inconvenience for me, but is it against my values? If it's not against my values, and it will not, I don't want to serve people and feel, that I'm like, feel irritated. And I have managed not to feel irritated. I want to keep that, but then I also want to make sure that I do sit back and reflect on that. Yeah.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
So you have a few questions about yourself as a guideline for your life. What would be the most important question to you?
Out of these 4 questions for now, or these four statements for now, or questions for now, because that list could grow. What am I think it's what am I afraid of?
Oh. What make you think this is the most important question to yourself like that?
Because I have, I did look at fear a lot last year as something to learn about myself, and that is where I told you I realized that I was a people pleaser, and I have many other fears. Like everybody has fears, and I have I had my own fears. But sometimes because I don't pay attention, they pop up. And then they either misdirect me or they stall me. Yeah, they disrupt my peace. Yeah. So that's it's a very important question, because it can also, I think, affect besides affecting my peace, it will affect my health. So I do need to be aware of it. Yeah.
So what would be the answer to yourself in this question then?
I want to say it should depend from situation to situation. So it's to just slow me down, that I don't react. I just have to sit back and feel where the sensation is when I'm saying, what am I afraid of? Just sit back and feel, where is the sensation? Am I afraid here or here, or what is going on? So that I can be able to then know how to move forward. And it's very easy when it's something that does not require immediate action. And I always say, I'm not a doctor. There is nothing I need to do that requires immediate response. So I just need to slow down. As I slow it down, I will be able to reflect on that. Yeah, slow down also. I've added another one.
You have to slow down in what particular area, Maggie?
In even making decisions.
Oh.
So because you asked me what is my purpose, even before I conclude that, I don't need to rush it. There's no emergency. So even if it takes me a year to get to that answer, let me take a year to get to that answer. Slow down, and so that I can also be able to address any issue that comes up, and I can ask myself these questions more strategically, rather than rushing it through for the sake of saying, I found my purpose. No. Yeah, it's all for me, so there's no rush. Yeah. Yeah.
What would be the first step action after our today's session, Maggie?
I will reflect on these questions a little bit more. I may not do that today because, well, it's time for running around for the kids, but these are things I will reflect on for the coming days. I'll reflect on these questions in the coming days. Yeah.
And what would be the key takeaway from our today's session, Maggie?
That maybe I also overthink things. I probably overthink things, and by slowing down, it might help. Think without overthinking. Slow down, think without overthinking. While also making strategic decisions. Apologies. Strategic decisions along the way. Yeah.
Good. And thank you for
Not
sharing.
to fight, not even fight the feelings, you know, because sometimes I think we also fight with ourselves. Like, oh, I feel we're always adjusting our positions. When you're sitting like that, we adjust our positions. We never stay still. Instead of, or you have a slight headache and the first action is to go for Panadol, and maybe you could just have let it pass. Maybe it was just a passing moment and just let it pass. So it's the same thing, just to not overthink and just slow down. I think for me that the slowing down is critical. Yeah.
And thank you for sharing in the session today. It's very insightful in your mind, in your feeling. I actually understand that you actually like to help the others a whole life. You are helping the others. It seems like in the half life of you that you think this is your half life, maybe you are thinking about yourself as well. What do you need? What is helping you to feel being alive like that? I think very, very powerful session. I am feeling like that. If I would like you to end our session today, what would you like to say to yourself?
But no matter what I'll do, whatever I do, I will be remembered for something good. Just aim to do good. You know, it's simple. Just aim to do good. Just show goodwill, compassion, and from a good place, not from a point of self-service to self-serve, but from a good place. Just do good. It's that simple, right? Just do good. If I've written, but why did I write this? Aim to do good. Anyway, yeah, just aim to do good. The rest of the pieces of the puzzle will fit in along the way. Yeah.
Okay, good. And how do you feel about yourself right now, Maggie?
I feel good. I feel good about it. I feel good. I'm sorry if it might have sounded a little bit spiritual or complicated or psychoanalytical. It's all those things in my head as well. Yeah, and you were very helpful. You were very helpful. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Maggie.
Yeah.
This is a good time that we can end the session today.
Yes, absolutely it is. Thanks very much, Usa. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thanks. Bye.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Usa, and thank you, Maggie. What a beautiful session. It was very inspiring to watch both of you. And I believe our coaches here who are watching online and also who are here are enjoying it. Now, the very first thing that I would like to share with you is that I felt deeply humbled, really deeply humbled, listening to this conversation. What an honorable person are you, Maggie. It's just so beautiful to watch. Thank you for really, truly, deeply inspiring and at a certain milestone in your life as of how you see it, reflecting on these things truly inspires. So thank you very much. Really, really appreciate. And I also would really like to appreciate, Maggie, your candid and authentic energy and being truly real, very, very real. Truly appreciate, really, really appreciate. Thank you. And then I would also like to massive congratulations, massive congratulations to Coach Usa. Oh my goodness, what amazing development did you create for yourself, Usa. I just want to take my hats off and really congratulate you, because it's not an easy endeavor to step into an unknown space like this, right? We had about 20 people plus 20 people in this room when you wanted to come forward, and that itself creates an immense value for you to develop. I'm sure you are a different person after this session, Usa. Congratulations. And I would also like to highlight the fact, like Maggie said, this conversation is not something that we would usually hear, especially in Coach Usa's context. She's a manager and she's working with her subordinates and her organization. So I believe that she was presented with a great opportunity, Maggie. And what is even more amazing is how beautifully Usa stepped into that space. Now, what I would like to really commend Usa about here is you truly demonstrated the mastery of MCC. Why is that? Because when Maggie said she has a topic, you didn't even ask what the topic is before you stepped into it. As a coach, what is expected from us most is being able to operate in unknown, because we do not know what our clients' realities are. And that's exactly what Usa did. You were comfortable operating in unknown and you stepped into that space very gracefully. So well done, Usa. Really appreciate. It's a very high value creating conversation. So I thank both of you for giving us the opportunity. Thank you very much. So yes, at this point of time, I would like to invite Maggie, our coachee. What did you think about the whole session? What did Usa do well, and what would you may do differently?
Oh, first of all, I'm curious to know, Usa, what's your level? What's your coaching level?
I am ACC in the halfway to get to PCC.
Oh my God, I have heard people coach at a way much higher level, but they did not get to, they didn't touch the way you did. So that was really amazing. Thanks very much. And it's really, when Fernando said he does not want role play, I was like, you know what? I was having this conversation with myself for the last 10, 12 days. I'm going to have this conversation today. And I didn't know who was going to coach me. I just put my hand up and said, I want to have this conversation now, because my birthday was in August. And having this conversation now is really important. Every time I celebrate a huge milestone, well, I turned 50 last year, but I didn't have these conversations at that point. So this is really instrumental for me. So I say the last 10 days I did, I'm sure Fernando, maybe a few other people know Vipassana. So I did Vipassana for 10 days. You're quiet and you're meditating and you're thinking all the time. And this question kept coming up and kept coming up to the point of tears. So when you asked me, what am I afraid of? I don't know whether you've noticed, but you've touched a chord, a very, very sensitive chord for me. And I just have to keep reminding myself, life is impermanent. Today we are here, tomorrow we are not. But as long as we're here, I need to do good. And I liked how you did not focus so much on what makes you feel alive. You helped me come up with very important steps and me come back and reflect. So thanks very much. I have nothing that I can say that you could do better, because then I would have already coached myself, which clearly I couldn't. Thanks very much. Back to you, Fernando.
Thank you, Maggie. I think all of us here, you have inspired us to think about and look at life in a certain way. And also, it was very beautiful to hear that you were doing Vipassana meditation. And coaches, if you might not have about Vipassana, don't be fooled by the name. Vipassana truly means observation, observing who we are, observing the reality, observing our mental qualities, observing our mental patterns. That's what Vipassana truly means. So I invite you to dig deep a little bit. It's so beautifully aligned actually with coaching. In fact, may I break this news to you? I have never announced this in public for the first time. At the moment, I'm crafting Vipassana integrated coaching program. So I'm going to share that with you in the long run. Yeah, thank you so much. It's gold, as we hear from Edinava as well. Absolutely, absolutely. And great. So now, Usa, let's hear from you. What do you think about your own approach today? And also, where do you think, oh, two questions. What do you think, what are you really happy about having done today? And also, where do you think you can improve?
It's a very challenging topic, but I am in with the topic of Maggie. I am with her all the times. I try to understand what exactly inside her mind. It seems to I am feeling like she has some internal conflict in her mind, because actually she is happy, but he's still not happy or enjoy 100% like that. What makes her feel like that? I am very curious about that. And I try to keep asking, and I would like her to listen to her voice. It seems like I would like her to talk to herself as well. And I'm happy when she smiling, when I have seen her smiling a little bit to compare since the beginning that it is not like that. I would like to improve myself in the setting agreement part if I can do differently. Yeah. That.
Now, Usa, the reason why I'm applauding you is because your awareness. When you said you'd like to improve your goal setting part, spot on really. There are a few pointers that I will mention to you. There is space to improve. Well done, Usa. The self-awareness, awareness to your own coaching process, your coaching approach means, you know what that really means? That means you're really good at your coaching presence, because you're present to yourself, what you're doing. You're present to the client. You're also present to the coaching process, so that you realize that the goal setting part can be enhanced. Well done. What great awareness, what great coaching presence, Usa. Hats off to you again. Anything else to add?
I would like to hear the feedback from the participant in this room as well.
Oh, great. Okay. So I was thinking of inviting all of you to like a intimate room to share your thoughts. Shall we do that, Usa? And then when everyone comes back, we will ask 1 or 2 insights. Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay. Excellent. Excellent. Thank you. So now when we go into this breakout room, what we will do, coaches, is to discuss what do you admire about Coach Usa? What do you admire about her skills, right? And then secondly, you will not talk about how Coach Usa can improve. It's not necessary. Instead, think about what you may have done differently yourself. What approach you may have done, what different question you may have asked. Let's have that as a conversation. And I have added all of you into breakout room, where each breakout room has 2 participants. So have a good conversation, have fun. And once you're back, we will ask 1 or 2 of you to share your insights. 1 insight. Okay, let's go. Okay, this will be a very short conversation, and enjoy. Okay, coaches, welcome back. I hope you had
wonder why I noticed, huh?
I hope everyone had a wonderful conversation, and also starting to realize what else can be done. What would I do differently, right? So as Usa requested, let's hear from 1 or 2 of you some feedback. But this time, I'm going to do it a little bit differently. Let's see how much attention our coaches paid and how good they are at rephrasing or summarizing something they heard, right? So I invite 1, 2 of you to come forward and share 1 insight respectfully. But it's not your insight. You'll be sharing the insight you heard from your peer. Who would like to come forward? If you heard something interesting, come forward. It can be anything. Any? Coach Patrick?
I heard something very nice from Coach Salma that I would like to share. And he has referred to the fact that Coach Usa has given up to 80% of the time and space to the client, Coach Maggie, and 20% for the coach, which happened to have been a very powerful way to let truly the client, drive the things towards achieving the goal. So yeah, I really love that. So I did want to share with everyone.
Excellent. See, Coach Usa, any thoughts?
Thank you so much. I agree with that.
Great, great, great. Okay, let's hear one more insight.
I think Isa always sharing, she said that she truly admired the patience of Coach Usa. She said she was able to just follow the client, even though the client was really, sometimes the client would go off and she'd bring her back and she'd ask another question and, all of that. So she admired her patience in just holding on and trying to always get the client back to to a place where they can proceed and make the necessary journey from where they are to where they ought to be. Yeah, that was her observation. I thought that was good.
Great. We see that Edinalva also would like to share something. Come forward.
Yes, can I?
Coach Salman, sure. I see that Edinalva has raised hand. Would you like to share first? And then we hear from Coach Salman.
Thank you. First of all, really, girls, you did both quite well. I was here just digging it. Don't dig deeper. It was amazing, the feelings. I'm sorry if it's not so good because I'm on my way, if you cannot hear me very well. And I want to say, Usa, with her silence, sometimes open space, and made an amazing report with the client, which was quite amazing in so short a term. And it gave Maggie space enough to be reflecting and aware where she was, her struggle in the last couple of weeks, as she said at the end. I was just, what should I be doing if I was in the same place? And yes, Usa, you keep it doing like that. Your silence is gold, and your awareness from the client, it's amazing. So that's my piece of the cake. So follow the rabbits, and you are really doing good. Thank you.
Thank you, Edinalva. Now let's hear from Salman as well.
Yeah, what I admire in the way the coaching is done is patience and humbleness. We coaches, when we are giving what the client wants out from this session, when we reach there, say we put them 4 questions, we feel victory, and sometimes we end up the session in one way or another. But to the last moment, Usa was patient with the client, and when the issue of fear came, you remember the word that Maggie said, now you touched me, touch a chord in me. That is where the real coaching started. It is not the 4 questions. It is what is deep inside Maggie. Came only at the last 5 to 7 minutes. And this happened in coaching. We are not patient sometimes. And we think we made a victory inside our session. But I think Usa was so patient that victory is not in her dictionary. It is what the client awareness is more important. Thank you, Usa.
Thank you, Salman. Coach Usa, would you like to share anything from your side? As a reaction to?
Yeah, totally agree. Thank you so much. Yeah, I agree.
Okay.
Thank you.
Great. Thank you, coaches, for sharing your feedback, especially what you heard from others. Shows that you have really been present. Amazing. Now, Coach Usa, would you like some feedback from my side? Yeah, okay. So when I provide feedback, right, with your permission, when I provide feedback, I usually follow this 3-step process. What I first do is share with you what I might have done differently in very specific cases, 1 or 2 of them. And then I will quickly share with you developmental opportunities. Usa did an amazing job conducting this coaching session. And how would she even be able to bring it to the next level? In keeping that in mind, I will provide some developmental opportunities, and then we will debrief the coaching session, identifying the beautiful things Usa did, where not only she met markers, but also using coaching as a tool, using it robustly, creating value for our coaches. So let's begin that process very quickly. What would I do differently? So when I say what would I do differently, it's never right or wrong, right? It's something that I might have done differently, but we can't expect Usa to be able to do that. I'm just showing that just to show a different perspective potentially. So one of the things I would say is I may have stepped in a little bit with the client, challenged even a little bit to find what does feel alive mean to you? I've gone into that. But again, who am I to decide that for the client? Because Maggie said later that wasn't important to her. So you see, so if there was an energy communication between Usa and Maggie, Usa, whatever the intuition that you got was right, that you did not dig deep into it, right? Now, I just only mention it from a competency perspective, but you see, competency does not define the quality of coaching and the value of the clients either. The competency shows us that we can maintain a certain professional standard. It's just only a demonstration. I always say, think about the coaching recording as a demonstration, but go with the right intuition, like Usa just very well did, because our intuition was different. Usa's and mine were different, and found out that Usa's was better, right? And Maggie confirmed, right? So just because I thought I would do it differently doesn't mean it's the best either, right? Here's another one. Another thing that I would have gone in a little bit is that she kept on saying, this is how I like to be remembered of. Now, when we say remembered of, it's remembered by a third party who is not in the conversation. But you did ask, how would you like to see yourself? You did ask that question literally. Now, I think if it was me, I would make it a little bit stronger, a little bit like tough love. You asked that question, but you let the client be, like you were very kind to her. But I would have been a little bit more strict as a coach with her in that opportunity I had. So these are the 2 things I thought I might have done differently, Usa. Otherwise, it was a great session. And then here are some developmental opportunities for you. Like very well you identified, the goal setting session can be improved a little bit. So for all of you awareness coaches, I will quickly share with you, when we ask for the question, what are we discussing today? I would say ask that question as an important, like $1 million question. So what is on your mind? It's a great question, but at the same time, we need to remember this person, let's say if it is a leader from an organization, has stopped all their work and being present. So we need to invite them to a serious space for them to discuss. So I would say ask what would you like to discuss today as $1 million question. I don't know how you would do that, but ask it meaningfully, very important. And the other thing that I would like to, because you know that, right? We may be charging a certain amount of fees for our coaching session, right? But the client might come up with $1 million idea. That is why we ask it as $1 million question at the beginning of the coaching session. Right. And then in terms of goal setting, I would invite you to incorporate asking the client clearly, why is it relevant for today for us to discuss? Or in other words, why is it important for us to discuss today? Once the client answered that, bring the client to the next level by asking, great, I understand why it is important for you today. And how is it meaningful to you as a person? So elevate the client's awareness from the very beginning. So for PCC, the meaningful, important, both, why is it important? Why is it meaningful? Both are very, very, I mean, I could say crucial, right? The other thing I would say about goal setting is when you have heard the goal from the client, repeat it back to the client very clearly, one time at least, and then ask the client a close-ended question there. Did I understand it correctly? Is that what you were trying to share? Is that your goal for today? Clarify, right? So these are the only little things that I would like to mention in the goal setting. Otherwise, Usa, you did a great job in goal setting. Another thing for a developmental opportunity, one last thing I would like to mention is when you were going through the beginning of the coaching session, we could clearly see it was very conversational, and ICF appreciates it very much. Our clients also appreciate it very much when we have a conversational way of coaching rather than question answer, bounce back and forth, right? Creating a conversation. You did it great at the beginning of the session. I think all the way up to 2/3 of the session, you had a great conversation. Towards the end, I felt like there were a bit of kind of like straight questions, right? So there, I would say to continue the not very transactional, rather conversational approach towards the end as well. Right, so that's all I have in terms of competency-wise where you can improve, particularly. So the areas that I mentioned as developmental opportunities are directly competencies, coaches. So asking the question with that depth is important. And then asking the importance or checking the relevance, meaning are important for PCC especially. MCC definitely need to have those. And then repeating back to the client, clarifying, those are all markers. Markers. So those are 3 markers that we are talking about right here for PCC and MCC. However, for your ACC, important and meaning questions can come together. They don't need to be separated as such. But of course, it's not rocket science. All of you can incorporate. So go ahead and do it even for ACC. Remember, we are not just operating with minimum skill requirements. Let's think about what's mastery, right? So that's all. And then I would like to walk all of you quickly through the coaching session. So I would like to first commend Usa. Hear this very carefully. No leading. Well done. Client was on their agenda throughout the process. Very clean coaching session, Usa. Well done. I commend you for that. And another very beautiful strength you have is being able to ask one question at a time precisely. By the way, coaches, make a note if you are working towards your ACC. Even at ACC, assessors listen to one question at a time. So if you ask maybe 3-4 times the same 2-3 questions at the same time and repeat it a couple of times, you might not even receive the credential. So one question at a time, ICF is very serious about. PCC will not be tolerated. MCC absolutely will not be tolerated, right? So we can always make sure that we ask one question at a time. So important. Coaching presence is impeccable. That's why you knew your own developmental areas. Well done, Coach Usa. You're very responsive to what is going on. You had these short introductions coming. Well done, good job. So, all of that. And we could see that you're coming from a place of curiousness, which means you're coming from a place of unknown, which is an MCC level competency. So well done, Usa. And then positive regards. We could see throughout the conversation, the coach provided unconditional positive regards to the client, not a single doubt. It's the client who is the expert. The client is the one who has all the knowledge. We could clearly see that. And Usa was being learner. Beautiful. I love that. There was no leading. I have written down twice. Silence. Well, you heard it. Earful. Everyone told you how well your silence was. Actually, in fact, there was one point. I wrote it down somewhere here. Let's bring it up right now. There was this, you were keeping silent, and through that process, the client herself was going through some kind of development. She herself going into the, this is where, what are the markers? And then she said questions. And then there was a silence. You didn't go to say anything. And then she continued her conversation and she came up with saying, guides for they are the guides for internal conversations. Wow. What value is that? Bringing just the idea of markers to the questions and bringing that further way up to create it as guide for internal conversation. Hats off. Very high level awareness, helping the client to go way beyond than what they thought their reality was to begin with. Very important MCC level skill, right? Inviting the client to go beyond their exploration. Well done. Good job. All right, so coming back, I would like to walk you through the session quickly. So you very consciously went through the goal setting session. We could see that you are aware of the markers, and then you clarified the keyword halftime. And of course, that created a lot of value for the client, if you notice, right? And the client kind of started talking about age, and the client herself asking her questions, right? She asked, what does it mean alive? She was asking herself, right? And then she said, not right or wrong. And then she said, I want to find the markers along the way. Just one question. Definition of a keyword created massive value for the client. How does that happen, coaches? How can Usa just ask one question and Maggie create value for her? Of course, Maggie is a thoughtful person, mindful person. She's present in the process. That is not enough. That is really not enough. It's Usa creating that space for her, demonstrating rapport, demonstrating trust for the client, and she's from the very beginning comfortable going into it, right? So Usa, you also show here, actually clearly tick the markers of rapport and trust, rapport, trust, intimacy, all that, because the client herself is going through her journey. You just provide the space. Amazing. I love it. And you were very aware of measure of success. You kept asking, you asked twice, what would you like to walk away with? That question, right? Very important. Now that is a direct marker for all three credentials, ACC, PCC, and MCC. Now let me show you how the measure of success, or what would you like to walk away with, how you can ask this in a coaching session. For ACC, asking what is the measure of success, and then asking, where are you, right? The client is like, I don't know where I am. Then you can say, okay, 0 being nothing, 10 being fully, where are you? Right? So if you introduce this as a ACC level application, coaching recording, that's okay. That's accepted. But at PCC, you cannot introduce a scale. You cannot ask 0 being this, 10 being that. You cannot introduce it, right? Because we trust the client more at a professional level, right? I mean, think about it, coaches. You cannot ask that kind of question most of the time from a CEO. They have a very clear understanding about what they're doing when they talk about their goals. 0 to 10 is limited measurement, really. It can be more meaningful. So what do we do at PCC level? We invite the client to create that. We ask, what does that mean to you? Where are you? How would you like to express it? We don't give them a scale at PCC level. Now, this is at PCC level, provided that a scale was necessary. Sometimes we don't even need a scale, right? If the person said, I want to identify 3 pointers. He has told us how to measure it, right? No need a scale anymore, right? So great job. Now, when we get to the MCC level, if you're preparing, at MCC level, we don't really even ask, where are you? Because we need to try and gauge and measure that. And if the coach was able to present it back to the client, amazing, right? So the intuition comes into play a lot when it comes to MCC level, right? So those are, like, if you take one competency, these are the differences in the levels when we approach, especially from the marking perspective, right? Okay, coaches, now that we talk about that, let's go ahead. Client was processing at some time. Does it make sense? She asked herself, does it make sense? And then ... And I, as the coach here, sitting here, I'm like, oh, now I can ask the next question. That is what was going in my head. But what did Usa do? She kept quiet, right? And then what happened? Coach let the client answer that question, right? The client herself answered that question. Brilliant use of silence, MCC level again. These are little things that the assistants will listen to when they're assessing an MCC or PCC level. Great. What are markers? That question was amazing. Also, I must say, your ability to ask powerful questions, open-ended questions, amazing. Really demonstrate curiosity. Sometimes I'm even asking, is this for the client? Is it for the coach? But then when you ask the question, I can see the value for the client. Amazing, Usa. This proves there's no right or wrong way of doing it. Usa can do coaching as good as anyone else in this room, including Fernando, right? That's what we learned from that. And you ask this question, how would you like to see yourself? Amazing. How beautiful are those questions? Great. I wrote down, your beginning part of the conversation is very conversational, beautifully done. Okay. And then also we saw when Usa was communicating, she had these short interjections to show, I am here, I am present, I am positively regarding you. I can hear clearly what you're saying, like, okay, good. May I ask you, showing humility, taking permission, which are very important during, every coaching session, and ICF is particularly listening to it, that you provide positive regards to the client, you're supporting the client, all that. And then, Usa, you ask a very powerful question. You ask your big goal in life, your big goal in life. Now, I would like to bring to all of your attention, PCC level, there's a new marker that did not exist before. This question fulfilled that marker. Usa particularly. What is it? This marker particularly says that coach is able to go in and out of the big picture in terms of what client is doing and where client wants to move forward. It's a complicated, if you notice, it's a complicated competency, because it's not just about you, it's about the client as well, right? The coach can go in and out with the bigger picture based on what client is addressing right now and where client wants to move forward. You see, it has many connotations. So Usa demonstrated that by asking your big goal in life. What is the purpose of your life, right? Great questions. I would only recommend here to ask those questions with a narrowing down it to be the right place for the client. It shouldn't look like it just came out of nowhere. That's the only thing I would share, but you demonstrated that skill at PCC level very well, Usa. Zooming out, looking at the bigger picture, a must. It's a PCC competency. So that has to happen with intuition, right? When we have to create that awareness of the client, it needs to happen with intuition, which means you decide because the client never tells us. Like if the client is leading, client will never tell us when to ask them this bigger question. So we need to be present with our intuition to identify a place, right? So intuition is required to be able to demonstrate that. I also like the question, any doubts, which is talking about the challenges, which is important, right? Very good. And then somewhere 2/3 of the session, I was thinking, where are the actions? Where are the actions? Actually, there was one action at the very beginning when the client said, I want to identify questions, guiding internal conversation, great. Now, somewhere around here, I thought you did ask about where are we now, right? You asked, where are we now? Great, very important. At the same time, I had this little connotation when she was talking about sorry, this is a developmental opportunity I need to squeeze in, I forgot to mention earlier. When the client went on and on and on and talking about fears and her internal dialogue, conversation and things like that, I was just wondering whether the value shifted from living her full life to something else, right? So I might have asked that somewhere. Earlier you're talking about that. Now I hear predominantly you're talking about these two. How is the goal now? What would you like to do with the goal now, right? So the client might say, it's the same goal. The client might say, no, it has changed a little bit. Then you step into the goal setting once again. So if you are at PCC or MCC level, you are expected, if you're planning to submit the coaching session, this recording, while the client is saying, okay, goal is changing. Now, even for a credential recording, now you need to step into resetting the goal from the beginning, right? So you have a second goal setting session. Can you submit a session like that to ICF? You absolutely can. It shows your ability. But the only problem is you will have to end that new goal within the next, whatever the number of minutes you have. So assess that first. If you have only 10 minutes, setting a goal will not be useful, right? So then probably you will invite the client to do it next time. But be mindful of that. It's very important. Right. And then we are asking any question about this area. Like Usa said, she also would like to ask herself questions. Well done. Good job. What would be 100%? So changing the perspective of the client, showing a different possibility and inviting the client to discuss. Well done. What did you learn about yourself today? A PCC marker. What did you discover about the session or the surface level goal? What would be most important to you, or what did you learn about yourself? Second level, what did the client explore about themselves? What did they learn about themselves, right? And then Usa asked the coachee herself to share her development, her approach, and what she's going to be next, right? So I believe in that process, you created a high note for the client. And then you also appreciated the client's work, you gave a brief summary and appreciated the client's work. So this is what we call ending the coaching conversation at a high note, and you demonstrated that very well. And there were also actions that were emerging, and in this session I would say that the actions were not necessarily like very specific, like corporate kind of actions. So Usa stepped into where it is necessary. Probably she used her intuition. At the same time, coaches, I would like to invite you to really clearly look at the competency 7 and 8 if you're preparing a coaching recording for ICF for current markers, because ICF stepped up their game with this part as well. Actions, managing progress, accountability, that ICF stepped up as well. So go through them before you set the goal. Before you end the coaching or before you record a coaching session. I would like to mention here now ICF invites you to strategize more at the end of the actions. Earlier, actions identified, some way forward was created, even at MCC level was acceptable. But now, even at MCC level, there's a new competency that says coach is able to manage the progress within the session, also in between sessions. Which means if you're recording an MCC session, that recording can be one coaching session, but it is best if it is truly an engagement and you're recording a session after at least you have conducted 3 sessions, so that the assessor can also hear things from previous sessions coming into play, and then you have the ability to demonstrate you are actually managing the progress and provide the support for the client's development, not only just for that session, but also in between sessions. So if you're preparing a PCC or MCC recording for ICF now, there is specific things that need to be included before setting the goal now. In this coaching session, we witnessed where the coach immediately went into setting goal, of course, because Usa, this is her first session. She cannot do anything else, right? But if you're working with the client who comes to you often, comes to you for regular sessions, then it's best you record 3rd or the 4th session so that you can demonstrate this additional skill as well. So well done, Coach Usa. You conducted a great session, and also hats off to our coachee, Maggie. Thank you so much for being vulnerable, candid, and sharing. And I also would like to thank all the coaches who are here, being here, and I hope we are creating value for you. So before we finish this conversation today, it's about time. I would like to invite Usa. 2 things. One, would you like to add any explanation, justification, or insight to what we shared with you? And secondly, most importantly, do you feel that you are respected in this space? How do you feel?
Yeah, first of all, I would like to thank you so much, Coach Maggie, because she is a very kind person, generous, like to helping the others. I'm feeling like that. That's why she come up with this topic into the session. And I would like to thanks to all participants today. I also encourage you next time, please volunteer to be a coach, and then you will learn a lot. Other than same as in today's session. Thank you so much. Thank you to you, Coach Fernando, as well.
Absolutely, sir. Do you feel respected? Do you feel that?
Yeah, I'm feeling respect.
How do you feel right now?
I'm so happy.
Congratulations.
I'm feeling to be a part of our today's session.
Wonderful. Thank you, sir. Now, let's also ask Maggie. Maggie, how are you feeling? Do you feel that we all respected you, treated with you positive regards today?
Absolutely, I do. I highly appreciate Usa. We did mention in our breakout room with Sudarshan that she allowed herself to be vulnerable. What do I mean by that? Is I am really all over the map with this story in my head, right? And I could see that even she was like, at some point she was like this and thinking, what on earth is going on? Which is very good, because then she didn't start thinking, I need to look like I know what's going on here, because it's a conversation that she, as you mentioned earlier, you didn't know, I did not say what I was going to talk about. So, because then a coach would decide whether it's something they want to talk about or not. So that space, that just made it even more comfortable as we went along, because I could see sometimes that even to try and bring me back in was not that easy. Thanks very much.
Wonderful, Maggie.
That's it. Yeah.
Usa, that's your achievement. At the end of the day, it doesn't matter what I told you, what ICF says, as far as your client is happy and you have created value, that's the most important thing, truly. Right. So coaches, we come to an end of this conversation today, and I would love to invite all of you to share one word that stands out to you right now. What occurs to you when I say one word from this session? I'm going to quickly call your names. You could either say the word or say pass, right? Okay. So let's begin with Ilse. Ilse, what comes to your mind?
I'll stick with patience.
Brilliant. Thank you. Sudarshan?
Being authentic.
Authentic. Gochi?
Learning.
Maggie?
Presence.
Renuka?
Silence.
Salman?
Open.
Hmm?
Open.
Open.
The coach is so open to the situation.
Open to the situation. Great. Usa?
Challenge.
Challenge. And you did very well with the challenge. Great. Edinalva?
Awareness.
Awareness. Great. Toby?
Presence.
Presence. Jean?
Holding space.
Holding space. Stacy?
Humble.
Humble. Absolutely. I felt too. Thank you. Esmira?
Powerful questions.
Absolutely. Last, not least, Patrick?
Vulnerable.
Vulnerable. Thank you, coaches. Did I miss anyone?
Yourself.
I feel proud. I feel proud of all of you and Usa and Maggie as well. So thank you very much, coaches, for being here. After we conducted this session last month, many of you reached out to me and mentioned that it was valuable. Thank you. So I decided to do this once a month. So this is our August session. And I'm going to do another session next month and continue. So please join us and let's stay in touch and wish you all the best through your credential journey, and love and light to all of you. Bye for now.
Fernando, thank you all.
Hi, everyone.